Housekeeping alert! Hello, you gorgeous teacher! If you're brand new to Everything EFL podcast, you are most welcome. If you are one of my lovely regular listeners, welcome back. Just the usual reminder, if you haven't subscribed, why not? Hit that subscribe button. It means a lot. And also, in the show notes, there's a link to my newsletter if you would like to sign up. I issue you a little challenge every time you get a newsletter, which is only every couple of weeks, so it's, not that bad. And there's a survey. I'm doing a little bit of market research, and if you could click on the link in the show notes and complete the survey, I would be really, really grateful. Just think of it as a, tit for tat, if you will, for all of this amazing free content you're getting. Okay, on with the show. Welcome to Everything EFL podcast. My name's Erin O'Byrne, and I absolutely love sharing my knowledge with you, my darling teacher, and helping you build not only community, but your students' confidence. I truly believe that a positive frame of mind is essential for your students to learn. There's also a bunch of other teachy stuff thrown in for good measure too. Are you ready? Let's go! So joining me today is English language teacher and rapper, a rare combination. I cannot wait to hear more. Jason Levine is in, can we say full effect? Has anyone said that since the early 90s?
Yeah, well, you can say I'm in the house and then hopefully I'll be in effect. But yeah, that's my plan, to be in full effect.
Excellent. Can you just introduce yourself to our listeners in case they haven't heard of you?
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks for inviting me here. Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Levine. I'm also known, maybe better known as Fluency MC. I'm a teacher, trainer, knowledge entertainer, originally from the United States. I live now in Paris, France. And I primarily go to middle schools and high schools to do shows for English learners in France and other countries in Europe and beyond. I also teach at a university in Paris a couple of days a week and do teacher training, both in person and online.
A man of many talents.
If you're going to be in full effect, you got to make sure you got your talent.
This is true. So let's start at the beginning. How did you get into hip hop?
Into hip hop? Cool. How did I get into hip hop? I grew up with it. Like people, other people who are really obsessed with it since they were kids. I can remember like my first moment getting into hip hop specifically, which was spring of 1982, when I was at a camp in our middle school, had a little 1-week camp, and the high school counselors were playing hip hop music, and it just changed, not just, my way of thinking about music, but so many people at the time, because it was such a new sound. This is, in St. Louis, Missouri, which is where I was at the time. That was really when it first hit, and it hadn't hit mainstream United States or the world until just a couple years before that, year and a half before that. So I was right there at the beginning.
What was the song that that really, changed it for you?
It was It's Nasty by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five.
Don't know that one, I have to say. I know like your basic hip hop songs, and I did watch the Hip Hop Evolution on Netflix, which I thought was really, really interesting. Yeah, I think I'm not a connoisseur like you, but I think I do prefer like the 80s hip hop, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe it's got the early 90s stuff, but yeah, it's just amazing. Some of it's just brilliant.
Late 80s, early 90s. You nailed it.
Okay, so what made you decide to use it in a learning capacity in conjunction with the English language?
Yeah, I love how you're asking these questions, because usually it's the other way around. How did you get into ELT, and then how did you bring hip hop in? So I definitely was into hip hop earlier. At 12 years old, I wasn't thinking about being a teacher, let alone an English language teacher. When I started teaching, I didn't use hip hop music. I used music like I think every language teacher does in some way or not, right? Because there's so many opportunities to teach through music and lyrics. But I didn't make a connection. Well, I started making a connection. I was teaching in New York City. I had students from all over the world who had hip hop in common, because this universal culture, Mexican hip hop, Japanese hip hop, Ukrainian hip hop. So that was amazing, because I was a hip hop DJ for years. So I was sort of teaching and had the music thing going at the same time, but not directly connecting them. But I started using hip hop mainly because my students were curious about the culture and we're in New York. It wasn't so much of a language learning thing as much as a cultural thing. And then it hit me that, because music helps us remember grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation so much better than most things, I could use hip hop music for this. And then just as soon as I had thought about that, I realized that the lyrics, because it's special for the culture, right? It's a special variety of English. And that's true of any, rap lyrics in any language, right? So that's when I decided to write my own songs. Or to write a song, see what happened. And for me, that was a big shift. I think most people don't see it that way because I was so entrenched in hip hop culture, but as a DJ. So for me, I was like, I'm not a rapper, I'm not an MC. But I thought, well, I could write, I can write. I've already started writing materials for English teaching. So I'm writing these songs and thinking, am I going to rap? So then I rapped and got better at it. And thanks to new media, especially YouTube, it was able to get out to more people. And that encouraged me and just kept going.
And I've watched some of your YouTube videos and you really go for it. You are fully committed when you go into those schools. How do students respond to you initially when they see someone on stage who is not in the same age bracket as most hip hop artists? Mm-hmm. White man, how do they respond to that initially?
Well, it's funny because you're right in terms of like who's on the radio right now, but in terms of sort of like the big guys in hip hop that are still around, including a certain white guy named Eminem, I'm older than him, but it's not a huge leap, in age there. But I think I don't come in as an MC. I come in as an English teacher for sure, like who performs. Students know me that way. I think it would be strange for sure if I was really pushing this as I'm a rapper. I do hip hop, and you're gonna sort of learn English along the way. It's more like, hey, it's so hard to learn English. Music helps you do that. I've made these songs to help you. So that's more the image students have of me in their minds. If they know me before I come in, and some of them do. Some of them, I'm introducing what I do for the first time. And I do that through talking about New York, hip hop culture, language learning, pronunciation. Like I put them all together in my presentation.
Yeah, that's really clever. It's a really nice idea. So how long does it take them once you start your the performative side of things? What's the sort of the point when you've got them in the palm of your hand?
That's a great question. Yeah, it used to be I was aiming for this point, and it didn't always happen because I had students in different countries, different levels of English, different types of people, and I wasn't good enough at what I was doing yet. But I definitely can say now, after with the experience I have now, that there is a point where I kind of go from getting them chanting with me, sort of clapping and chanting, to putting the first hip hop beat on, and it kind of segues out of just the choral response thing, the drilling, basically. So they sort of see a connection. I want them to feel that connection with drilling and repetition. But when it's with music, that's what we do. We do call and response. We sing along. So that's the moment. It's a moment where I'm practicing with hi, how are you doing? It's really nice to meet you. And starting it off talking about, if it's in France, for example, how it would be, hi, how are you doing? It is really nice to meet you, right? So we're kind of joking about the difference and how the rhythm of hip hop is really the rhythm of English. It's, hi, how are you doing? It's really nice to meet you, right? And that's just one of, many reasons why using hip hop can help, is that the rhythm is so different in English than most people's first language, that when they if they're guided along, and also show rhythm visually, so they're seeing where it is and they're hearing where it is, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a more up-to-date version of the jazz chant. Going back to you're in the auditorium, you're in the hall or whatever, and they're they're engaging with you and stuff. What's the kind of general mood or state of excitement once you finish? Like, do you finish on a big high? Do you leave them all like, or do you bring them back down again?
It definitely finishes on a high. What I do usually is have a time for them to ask questions. That's becoming every year a bigger thing. When students, see videos of me doing or pictures, and teachers think, oh, this is a great opportunity beforehand. They can think of questions to ask you. So sort of get them really high up and then bring them down to this question thing where I go in the audience and, give them the microphone. And by the way, during the performance, I'm also doing that, but they're coming up to, maybe rap or beatbox or breakdance. So this is where kind of it calms down. We talk, they ask me questions, and then we do a really rousing number, either the irregular verb song, which is my most popular one, still stuck. But more often than not, that's the last song before questions. And then now I have sort of this last one we're going to do. It ends on a big high note. We take a selfie, and then I stick around, and kids come up if they're too shy to ask a question before, or they just want to say hello or take pictures. And the young ones ask for my autograph. So it's really cool. It's great. They often make posters for me and stuff for me to sign. And so, it's really cool.
Wow. So what is the aim of you going into schools?
Yeah, that's an easy one. There are lots of things that connect to what I'm going to tell you, but it's absolutely to encourage kids to practice English this way outside of class. So a common misconception people have is they'll see a video of mine where I'm rapping in the classroom, and they think I'm sort of the rapping teacher, like it's like a rap musical. Kids come to my class, and it couldn't be further from the truth. I began doing this in 2007. I did it for a few years before new media was all CD. And the whole point was for my students to listen at home. I did the rap in class because they encouraged me to do it because YouTube was starting out. And then it hit me, oh my goodness, now kids can do this at home anywhere in the world, right? But it's in the classroom, it's all about communicative activities. With a communicative activity in the classroom is that if the students don't have the target language ready to go, then it's not as much fun. It's a struggle. They're looking on the board, they're looking in their books, they're translating. So the idea was kind of a flipped classroom model, but not listen to the lecture at home, but listen to the songs. Target language gets in your head, you go to class, and then it comes out more naturally during the activity. So back to your question. So the reason I go to these schools, to have a good time with these students, it's fun, everything else, but it's just 90 minutes. So if they like it, and then if they get hooked on it, that's the aim. The idea is then they'll watch my videos. I mean, it's a win-win because also people following me and watching helps me develop what I do and reach more people and help more people. But if those kids are practicing with my videos, then they'll have the same experience that I have with my students who were, in my physical classrooms. And they'll go to their physical classrooms, and their teachers will be like, oh, wow, my students are remembering more grammar and vocabulary. So that's the point. And that's the thing that teachers need to understand. And I make a point that to really talk to them about that. But this is a team effort. This is not about you changing what you do. On the contrary, this is about you continuing what you do, but hopefully having more success because students are more prepared for the activities you're doing.
And I think anything students can get engaged with outside of the classroom is where the real learning takes place a lot of the time. So obviously you're into promoting learner autonomy. How important is that to you to promote that?
It's huge, but I think learner autonomy, and when I do teacher training now, it really boils down to this whole idea of, how to indirectly get students hooked on English outside the classroom. And it's learner autonomy, but I feel when I look back at how I learned about learner autonomy and like CELTA and master's programs, it was a little bit more of an emphasis on, students really need to, get out there on their own kind of thing. And I don't think, if you're 13 years old in France in a middle school, being encouraged or told or assigned, things to do to have more autonomy, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to do anything because you're going to be too stressed out. You're going to feel lost. And, too many teachers, and I used to be this way too, I think say things like, oh, there's so much English out there. Look, there's this opportunity and this, and I'm giving you this link and I'm giving you this, but that's like somebody saying, you should go to the gym and work out. It's like, I know.
Yeah. You should climb a mountain. I always equate it to climbing a mountain. And I think you have to really specify. One, you kind of have to specify it and break it down for them. And two, they have to be the one to make the choice to do it. Like, you can't say, do this, listen to this, watch this. It's like, here are some possibilities. We've discussed them in class, or, you have suggested some things that you were interested in. Why do, maybe if you like, have a look at the possibilities, choose one.
What you're talking about, this is what I get into so much with teachers. It's like, because I think the best way to start is to explore what happens with those students who do get hooked. And in almost every case, right, it was incidental. It was not something that was planned. So if, for example, you have a student, and I meet students like this all the time because they're the first ones to come up to me and start blabbing away in English, because they're so confident, because they're getting so much outside the classroom. So, I mean, France, for example, the students have 3 hours of English a week or 4 hours if they're lucky, right, in the public schools. So, I mean, that's obviously, it's absurd that they'd be able to learn to speak English that way. It doesn't matter how good the teacher is, how good the materials are, right? It's all about outside, what they're going to get outside. So you notice that there's this one student or these 3 students that are getting only 3 hours a week, but their English is just booming. They're not studying abroad. They don't come from a bilingual family. And then you ask them what happened. I'd love just to stop what I'm doing and just do research on this, because I just hear these stories. It's always, I was visiting my cousin and her friend was there, and they showed me this game online and everybody's chatting in English. And then I got addicted to the game, but to get more points in the game or to build my house in the game, I had to watch these YouTube videos in English. And I watched the same video 10 times because I'd have to, have to learn how to play the game. So it's all, total intrinsic motivation. It's not, I have to learn English. It's, I just want to play the game. There's the extrinsic motivation of I want to win more money at my game. But the point is, it's not about learning English first.
No.
Hugely important, especially when we say like, oh, look, all the English out there. So instead of saying go out there and get English, what I feel we should be focusing on is, what are things students could get really hooked on that will want to learn English or need to learn English in order to do them. So many examples, students who get really into a musical artist. So they start, looking for things about the artist in English, or getting into, a server on Discord where everyone's talking in English. They're learning English, they're practicing English, but that's not what they're thinking they're doing.
Yeah.
They're thinking that they're playing this game, or they're following this artist, or they're into this YouTuber. So anyway, that's tricky because there's no formula for it. But one thing you hinted at the idea, well, you could maybe try this out. Like I play a little bit of a song, a little bit of a video. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's just kind of reverse psychology stuff, and just, or pairing kids up, trying to get kids to do stuff together. The ones who are really excited about English, sort of pairing them up with other kids to, again, this is sort of teacher training, not my kids, but encouraging teachers to do that.
I think we're quite in this very interesting time when English has become very globalized and there is so much out there. And I think most kids, even the young ones in some capacity, are already engaged in, following someone on social media, listening to their favorite artist. So, if teachers are stuck, it comes back to getting to know your students, doesn't it? Get to know your students, find out what they're into, and then tap into the stuff that they're already engaged with in English, and see if you can sort of gently encourage them down that route.
I agree. Like, we always need to do needs assessment and figure out where our learners are, but even more if it could mean that we could help them get opportunities in place in social media and other areas. But it's fun. I've heard a lot of stories from teachers having students get turned off if the teachers get too close to what they're doing in English.
Okay.
the good news is that the younger kids are, the less worried they are about that. And of course, the younger they are, almost always the better it is for them to get home. And then on their own, they'll just sort of blossom and doing stuff after school on their own.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have to talk about France's Got Talent.
Okay.
I saw the video. I'm going to put the link in the show notes so people can have a look at it. How did you get into that?
So someone messaged me on Facebook. You know, there's so many times where things have happened that's helped me in my career have been through Facebook. So this is one of them. So she messaged me. She'd seen a broadcast. It was, I think it was France 3, like one of the stations. There was an interview with me at a school. So she saw that. She asked me if I was interested in doing it. Now, it's important to understand, if you apply on your own and you have no connection to the program or the station, or if somebody calls you and asks you to do it, you still have to go through this really long, process of trying to get on. It wasn't like she was like, oh, I'm going to put you on the show. It's like, oh, now, you have the chance to, make this video. And then if we like that, then you'll do this and that and the third. But yeah, it was a really great experience. I didn't think I was necessarily going to be on the show. They kept telling me it's very, hard to get on the show, but it's possible. But I got on. So, yeah.
Did you get any further?
I didn't, 4 oui, 4 yeses, which is the best you can get. So at that moment, my moment of triumph, I was feeling like, oh, of course I'm going to keep going. And this is amazing, because for me, just the first experience was enough. I mean, I certainly wasn't thinking I was going to continue. But as it turns out, with reality programming, it's not as simple as you get the best you can get and then you advance. It's very complicated. They're putting together a story, and maybe they need this person or this for the story, and I didn't fit into whatever they were planning. So they told me, it's you're not going to advance. So I said, oh, that's fine. I don't care. So, but you'll show my audition, right? Because it was so great. And they're like, well, it's very rare that somebody gets cut at this point and we show the audition. I'm like, oh, no problem. But you'll send me the video, right? So I can show my students. Yeah. So at this point, what I care about is, it was such a cool experience. What I want is just, I want to have a record of it. Oh, no, we destroy it.
Oh.
It's like, wait a second. I don't think mentally I'm going to be able to handle this. You're saying, because they don't allow any pictures in there or anything else. You're saying I'm going to have to just tell people I was on this show. And they're going to be like, yeah, sure, you were.
Of course you were, yeah.
Yeah, because I had no evidence of it. I mean, my wife and my daughter were there, but, besides that, nothing. So it was really stressful, and I got very lucky. They cut it down to like 1 minute. I was on stage for like 7 minutes. They cut it down. They put it at the very end. But I'm really lucky, because that's something I show when I go to the schools. It makes the kids so happy and excited. It helps sort of my credibility, and then they pay more attention and get more into the English side of things. So yeah, I'm really glad I have that.
Brilliant. Not many people can say they've been on national TV,
Yeah. No, it was. I mean, it was a harrowing experience. I mean, I was petrified, but it was great.
Fair balls to you, man. Fair balls. Okay, so where can people find you, Jason?
Yeah, just Fluency MC, if they remember my name, and then wherever you like to be on social media. I spend most of my time on Instagram. And not a lot of time on LinkedIn, but I'm definitely available on LinkedIn. Especially I work a lot with teachers, doing things on LinkedIn, messaging and so forth. But yeah, YouTube for the videos, Instagram, if people want to see what I'm doing in schools. And I just want to, where I am most of the time, happily, is off this corporate social media on an app that is, I'm working with a couple of people. We have our own app now called Relevant. So people are interested in the App Store or Google Play. It's Relevant Skills, and I'm teaching English there, doing online stuff with students, and it's just so great to be somewhere, sort of our own private place that's not these big social media people. You put something up in a feed for a chat, and people are going to see it, that kind of stuff, like in the old days. So yeah, check out Relevant Skills in the App Store or Google Play.
Amazing. Okay, now in our last chat, you did say something about a little freestyle.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want? Do you want a real freestyle off the top of the head, or do you want something? Maybe it's better something that I've done before.
Completely up to you.
Really? Let's see. Well, I mean, I could do a little bit of the irregular verb rap that most people know. Yep. Just get a taste of that, and then maybe do a little something else real quick. So the stick for sticking in your head, the irregular verbs. The first part goes like this. The microphone I took, taken. You shake, shook, shaken. Wake, woke into the style I'm creating. Think, thought, seek, sought. Listen to the lesson that I teach. Talk. Don't sleep, slept. I creep, crept. I sneak, snuck up. You leap, leapt. I keep, kept. Having fun. I'm never beaten. I win, won. Do, did, done. Begun. Shoot, shot. No, I don't own a gun. I lead, led, so I can feed, fed, the knowledge you need straight to your head. When I bring brought it, you catch, caught it. Sit back, relax, don't fight, fought it.
Deadly. That's so good. Thank you.
Yeah, and just a little contrast, because a lot of my songs are stories that are more collocation based. I'll give you a little taste of one called A Life, which is collocations with get. And I know you had Hugh Deller on here recently, so shout out to all the lexical approach people and people teaching chunks. Here is a bit of Get a Life. I got to know this kid when I got to junior high. He used to get into trouble, get in fights, and get high. But when he got a little older, he got more mature. His mom got him in line, so his vision didn't blur. She got on his case to get straight and get a job so they could get by without having to rob. And every night when he got off, he'd get out his notebook and get busy writing rhymes because he was no crook. He got a look at universities and got some applications, got approval from his teachers. Get the recommendations. He got grief from his friends. He got insulted and then got hurt when they got scared and insecure because they knew he would desert them.
Deadly, thank you. Yay!
You're welcome.
I think you should start a series of collocation raps and call it Funky Chunks.
Ooh, how come I never thought of that?
You're welcome.
But I think Funk Chunks is better.
Funk Chunks, there you go.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Jason, you are an inspiration. I've really enjoyed this chat. I think what you do is absolutely brilliant, and I am really grateful for your time. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for your encouragement. I really appreciate it, and this opportunity to connect with your listeners. And thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening. As usual, contact me on all the social medias if you need to. Sign up to my newsletter where I issue you a little challenge every couple of weeks. And most importantly, share the love. Bye.